At the sixth race, Ferrari reached the lowest point of the start of the 2025 Formula One Championship with a performance far from the top. For example, in qualifying, the SF-25 single-seater was only 0.2 better than the problematic SF-23. Better tires, namely softer, improved aerodynamics after 2 years of wind tunnel work, good efficiency in terms of top speed and drag reduction system, no signs of porpoising. Yet the car has hardly come to life except for the race, which was held at the 6.174-kilometer Jeddah Corniche circuit in Saudi Arabia. A series of performances that were never in line with expectations, while the tire operation remains unknown. The Maranello team had a rough weekend at the Miami International Autodrome in Florida, where only the sprint, thanks to weather that shuffled the cards, rewarded Lewis Hamilton once again after a desperate move. Charles Leclerc did not even start due to the incident with the intermediates, a questionable move in terms of assessing the conditions. McLaren was untouchable. Even Red Bull's Max Verstappen had to destroy his first stint just to resist in vain. The Miami Heat made the MCL 39 single-seater more unbeatable than ever. The specter of a summer dominance looms, which could demotivate the competition. Everything is in the hands of the driver's ability to avoid mistakes. Ferrari's potential is unusable. The simulator says it exists, but the track doesn't. That's why Frederic Vasseur is talking about it. It is not purely an aerodynamic issue. The car simply runs with inefficient mechanical settings for the race, which is compromising the performance in the qualifying session. For some reason, the Maranello team's engineers and technicians cannot make the rear suspension work as it should. It could be an issue with the anchorage or travel. According to what has been reported by the Italian media, a new suspension is in the works that could be paired with the latest big aerodynamic package, but the timing is unknown. It is a very delicate and totally unexpected change in the middle of the season, not quick, but at least it clearly shows where the problem lies, and that it is not strictly aerodynamic. The hope is that the fixes will work as they did a year ago after the technical director's position was suddenly vacant with Enrico Cardile's departure, who will take a position at Aston Martin next July. At that moment, Frederic Vasseur took the interim role, but was certainly caught off guard as they entered a delicate phase. This could be a delayed backlash, perhaps the cause of some assessments deemed insufficient regarding the bold changes to Project 677. However, Ferrari cannot afford a long season that risks seeing it, at certain points, even as the fifth force. Currently, there are already 2 teams at Maranello, one fully dedicated to the ongoing 678 project, namely the car for the 2026 Formula One season. A phase where dozens of different designs, some extreme, are normally tested to identify where the greatest gains can be made. Technical director Loic Serra was in Jeddah, where things worked less badly, at least for Charles Leclerc, but wasn't in Miami. On his shoulders, the responsibility of a triple and heavy commitment, thinking of a good car for next year, curing the SF-25's problems, and, significantly, improving the quality of technical choices on track. Everyone is asking the same question, and it is a legitimate one. Couldn't the Ferrari SF-24 have been further refined instead of changing it 99%? Changing the aerodynamic balance to focus more on the front end required an entirely different overall geometry. Modifying the gearbox casing and reducing the rear suspension size did not pay off. The trap was around the corner but could not be predicted in the simulations, which only showed gains with no drawbacks. For better or worse, Venturi cars will remain among the most unpredictable and unreadable in Formula One history. After the turbulent American weekend in every sense, it is worth highlighting the comments of the 7-time Formula One world champion reported by the BBC, which may now seem clearer. Lewis Hamilton said that he thought the SF-25 car had real performance and that something was holding them back at that moment. The British driver believed the performance was there, but they just could not use it. He added that until they found a solution, that was the situation they were in. In the world of sport, gaining access to the real-time conversations of participants, such as the ones that played out on Ferrari's team radio, is rare. Inevitably, things are said in the heat of competition that lose some of their context when written on a page. It is also important to note that Lewis Hamilton's frustrations in the Miami Grand Prix stemmed from the Maranello team's strategy decisions, and therefore were not aimed directly at his Ferrari race engineer Riccardo Adami himself, who would have had no say over the swap despite conveying the messages. Nevertheless, Ferrari's decision-making process appeared muddled at a crucial point of the race, and both drivers were well within their rights to vent frustration and plead their case. Charles Leclerc said there were no hard feelings with Lewis Hamilton, and that he fully understood the British driver was trying something different, which he appreciated. The Monegasque driver added that he would have done the same in Lewis Hamilton's position, trying to be more aggressive on the medium tires. Charles Leclerc emphasized the need to separate the two issues, acknowledging that while strategy problems may have cost them one position, the other 6 or 7 were due to the car's performance, which needed improvement. On that message, Ferrari is united. The SF-25 car simply is not quick enough to challenge at the front. An aerodynamic upgrade package is expected to arrive in time for the upcoming triple header of Imola, Monaco, and Spain. And on Sunday, Lewis Hamilton hinted at a fix to the problems he has faced since his car was disqualified from the Chinese Grand Prix for running too low to the ground. He said that something was holding them back at the moment and that they had lost performance since China, even though it was still there, they just could not access it. Until they found a fix, that was their situation. The 7-time Formula One world champion added that they were currently battling with Williams, clearly not as fast as they wanted to be. However, the British driver believed that once they solved some of the car's issues, they would be back in the fight with Mercedes and Red Bull. The gap to the two McLaren drivers is stark and proves the car's total superiority. For the first time this season, we witnessed such a performance. The reasons could be related to the Miami track layout, which was tricky for all others, or the high temperatures that increased tire wear. The MCL39 is the best car on the grid in terms of degradation, as seen in the second stint on the white, hard tire, where the lap times of the two drivers were unreachable for everyone else. Ferrari was even behind Williams in terms of pure pace. The result of the Miami race should prompt deep reflection among the engineers in Maranello, and the updates arriving in Imola and Barcelona will be crucial for the rest of the 2025 Formula One season. Frederic Vasseur has somewhat resigned himself, stating that McLaren was on another planet in the race. In previous rounds, the red team struggled to come alive in qualifying but then found the pace to do better in the race. In the first stint here in Miami, however, they were clearly struggling even to match the pace of the Williams. In past Grand Prix, we were talking about a 0.2, 0.3 second gap between McLaren and the other top teams. What we saw last Sunday, however, was a much larger gap. We are talking about 0.7, 0.8 seconds per lap, which is a mountain to climb in a season where preparing next year's car will also be key. The regulation change expected for Barcelona might alter some scenarios, but it won't be enough to cover such a large gap. The telemetry data makes the gap between the top two and the rest of the field even more evident. Ferrari team principal Frederic Vasseur is well aware that the upcoming round of the 2025 Formula One World Championship represents a pivotal moment in the team's season. The Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, held at the historic Imola circuit, is not only Ferrari's first home race of the year, but could also mark the final time the iconic track appears regularly on the F1 calendar. That backdrop adds weight to what is already shaping up to be a critical weekend for the Maranello team.